Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really big idea that completely flipped economics on its head. It solved a huge mystery and totally changed how we think about value in the workplace. We're talking about the theory of human capital. Let's jump right in. All right, so let's set the scene. It's the 1960s, and economists have a serious problem, a real head-scratcher. The US economy was absolutely taking off, growing like crazy. But for the life of them, their trusted models just couldn't explain why. See, up until then, economists felt pretty confident. They thought they had the recipe for economic growth all figured out. You know, a nice, neat checklist of all the essential ingredients. And look at these things: machines, buildings, land, hours worked. It's all physical stuff, right? Stuff you can touch and count. The thinking was really straightforward. If you want the economy to grow, just add more stuff. More factories, more workers, more land. It was all about quantity, a very mechanical way of looking at things. But here's the thing. That simple recipe wasn't working anymore. When they actually crunched the numbers for the US economy, there was this massive, glaring hole in their calculations. The growth they could explain was just a fraction of the growth that was actually happening. Something big was missing. And that gap, that's the heart of the mystery. Economists gave it a pretty dry name. They called it the residual factor. But think of it like this. It was this ghost in the machine, some invisible, powerful engine pushing the entire economy forward, and nobody had a clue what it was. So, what was the solution? What was this big secret ingredient? Well, it wasn't another machine. It wasn't more land. The answer was something completely different. A truly radical idea that shifted the focus from the tools people used to the people themselves. And this was the big aha moment. A few economists started to say, hey, what if that missing piece, that residual factor, isn't a thing at all? What if it's the stuff inside people's heads, their knowledge, their skills, their training, even their health? It's the idea that people and what they know are a kind of capital. Gary Becker, who later won a Nobel Prize for this, just nailed it. He said, look, when you pay for school or a training course or even healthcare, you're not just spending money. You're making an investment in a person, an asset that's going to pay off for a long, long time. And that right there is the key mind shift. All of a sudden, going to college or getting a new certification wasn't just a line item on your budget. No, it was a strategic move. It was an investment designed to make you more productive, to help you earn more. And when you do that, guess what? The whole economy gets a boost. Now, this idea didn't just pop up overnight. It was built piece by piece over decades by some of the smartest people in the field. You can kind of trace the evolution right here. It starts in the 60s with Schultz and Becker laying the groundwork, saying, hey, education is an investment. Then, by 1990, Paul Romer takes it a step further. He proves that a whole country's growth is directly tied to how much human capital it has. And then, by the 2000s, the idea got even bigger. We started including things you can't really put on a spreadsheet, like creativity, commitment, even street smart. Okay, so that's the big picture economic theory. But what does this actually mean for you and me? How does it show up in the workplace today? Well, the answer is a department most of us are pretty familiar with: Human Resource Development, or HRD. Yep. At its very core, HRD is simply the business of putting human capital theory into practice. So you know that online training course your boss made you take last quarter, or that leadership seminar? That is human capital theory in the wild. It's the company literally investing in its people to make them better, which, of course, makes the whole organization better. It's a really clear connection, right? Human capital theory is the why. It's the big idea that investing in people is smart. And human resource development is the how. It's the toolbox, the actual training programs and development plans. One's the blueprint, the other is the building. All right, so we've got a theory from the 1960s that basically explains why HR departments exist. But why should we care about this today? What makes it still so relevant? Because let's face it, we live in a knowledge economy. Ideas and innovation are everything. And this theory gives us the language, the business case, to prove that developing people isn't some soft, nice-to-have perk. It's a hard-nosed, critical investment in the company's most important asset. So for anyone in HR or management, this theory is your best friend. First, it gives you a way to actually calculate the financial return on investment for training. Second, it's the perfect comeback when someone questions spending on soft skills. You can show exactly how it connects to performance. And finally, it pushes us to get better at measuring those intangibles, like creativity and commitment, that really drive success in today's world. So really, it all boils down to this one question. What's a company's most valuable asset? Is it the buildings and equipment listed on the balance sheet? Or is it the collective brain power, creativity, and passion of the people who walk out the door every single evening? Human capital theory tells us it's the latter. And that's an investment that always pays off.